Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those of all ages, to an episode of Press A to Climb Soapbox here at ScaryUncleDevin YouTube channel. Our format's going to be a little different from here on out. They're generally going to be a little bit shorter, and normally they're going to be about something kind of in the news that we think might be discussion worthy or needs to be talked about a little more than maybe just like a little news blurb. So, as always, I am Nasty Man, and I am here with Tymo.
How you doing, guys?
Benjamin Arthur.
Hey, everybody.
And ScaryUncleDevin.
Hi.
And today we're going to be talking about, well, first off, I want to give a little plug to a video by Total Biscuit that he just put out recently about Day One Gary's incident and how everything involving his channel with that. I suggest everybody goes and watch it. It's about YouTube censorship and things getting taken down from YouTube by companies for shady purposes or so on and so forth. So I'm going to put a link to the video in the description of this video, and I would highly recommend that everybody go and watch it if you have not seen it already. And to get things started today, we're going to talk about the Steambox. After our next gen console discussion last time, it's kind of funny that like a month later, it was not long after that, official details on the Steambox started surfacing. Yeah.
Now we have an appendix to the.
Yeah, we have a new console to tap onto the next generation, the next generation of the home console. It's
one more console.
It's an interesting thing. For those of you who don't know what the Steambox is
you're a terrible gamer.
Hey,
no, that's not true.
Hey,
they just have crappy PCs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not a lot of people. There's the console gamers who might not necessarily know what's going on in the PC world with Steam and everything. But the Steambox is basically Steam is releasing a low weight Linux based operating system called SteamOS, and they're basically licensing it to people for them to put on kind of. Well, they're PCs, quote unquote, and it's not like the 360 where it's there's going to be like one Steambox, and that's the only Steambox. It seems like there's so far I've seen 2 hardware configurations.
It's Linux, so it can be compiled for whatever. Really, I mean.
But I've seen 2 specific hardware configurations that they've said like this is hardware configurations that will support SteamOS.
Gotcha.
So there's going to be, it looks like there's going to be maybe like a tiered system. Like there's going to be cheaper SteamOS Steam boxes that are slightly less powerful as far as their like processor and graphics card, and then there'll probably be the slightly more expensive ones that come with like GeForce T90Is and shit like that.
So here's a new plan. Side note: what we need to do is make up a Steambox design that fits inside a pair of shoes. That way, wherever you go, if you went there with your shoes, then you have your Steambox with you.
Why shoes?
Yeah,
specifically?
Wait, what?
Because if you have it on your belt, you'll look like a tool.
But then
if you can fit it in your shoe,
then wouldn't you have a tool belt?
What if I have like a Batman utility belt?
No. The correct response to that is no more power.
Would you call it a shoebox?
No. No, we would not. No, we would not.
We'll talk more later.
Okay.
Copyright. Pink orangutan.
No, this isn't Pink orangutan. This is just us.
Oh, okay.
He was looking at me.
Okay. Well, then you owe me royalties then.
You shall be king of calendars.
All right. So basically, Steambox seems like it's turning into a Linux console, pretty much.
What are the price points? Because I haven't looked into it too much. To be
all
honest.
the way from free if you build it yourself up to
I'm not sure
Newell kind of wanted things to stop at like $300.
Yeah,
he wants to compete directly with
he wants to
consoles.
he wants to compete with home consoles. So it looks like a lot of the hardware configurations are stopping around maybe around $300, $400. You know.
So that's interesting. They're doing both. They're giving it to somebody to build the box, and then they're releasing the config so that you can put it together.
Yeah,
yourself.
I'm not sure how they're going to be releasing Steam OS on its own. Like, if you're going to be able to just get Steam OS and put it on a computer of your own.
From what they've said, yes, that's exactly what it's going to be.
I wasn't sure if they were going to charge.
A lot of people assumed it was a Fedora-based distribution,
Yeah.
but it's been more revealed because Fedora is Debian-based.
Yeah.
It's more so that it's a Debian-based distribution that they've customized specifically to be Steam. You know, they've borrowed a lot of libraries from Fedora because Fedora and
It's
Ubuntu
widely-
actually.
they're widely supported.
And by Fedora, I meant Ubuntu this entire time because that's what Steam officially supports in terms of Linux is Ubuntu machines.
Yeah. So this is just a little window for our entire audience, maybe three of you now, into what dealing with conversation with Devin is
Three
like.
of them, which immediately when they heard the word fedora, immediately started tuning out.
I don't mean the hat.
because nobody
The red hat?
Linux.
Shut up.
Because nobody Linux.
Linux jokes, I know.
The term fedora. They were like, we're out.
Which
we're
is
done.
actually kind of funny. I never really noticed that before. Fedora and Red Hat and another CentOS. Anyway. So, technically speaking, they do have to release at least the base of what SteamOS would be for free because of licensing involving Linux.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they don't not like they have to release their software for free, but they already do, so that would be stupid.
Yeah, that's well, it could be a proprietary build of Steam that's, designed specifically for the build of Ubuntu they're using essentially. And I'm not sure the legal grounds they would have to possibly be able to charge for that.
I think them making it free is the way for them to get the best saturation of the market in the first place.
It's the better choice. It really is. That's the reason why Steam does well right now is because it's free.
Yeah, if it was an expensive
everyone
service
who
and
has a
everybody had to pay
PC
for it, it wouldn't be nearly as
can
popular.
really get in on it. So it's like that's how they make money is they give it out to everybody.
Well, I remember that when Steam first came out, you couldn't just get it. You had to buy Half-Life 2 or a number of other source-based games, that came straight out of Valve. And
that was
very early, though.
Very much its own platform. That was kind of when it was,
It was like a service for those games.
it was like
basically.
a service for Valve's games.
Yeah, it wasn't
kind of
really until
like a GameFire or something like that. Sort of, handle a lot of their multiplayer aspects for those games and things like that.
Yeah.
It was more of a service than a sales platform for them at that time.
And now it's much bigger.
Yeah. Now it's maybe arguably the most popular sales platform for video games at least.
I mean, you could really technically still call Steam a platform, much like, your Xbox or anything. The only difference is, it's like you're putting it on whatever your configuration is.
It's a virtual platform.
There's very little difference between, Steam as itself and kind of like the entire operating system of the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
The Xbox 360 has some extra things that Steam doesn't necessarily need to do. It has apps for things like YouTube and Netflix and all that, but it's Steam. I mean, Steam even has its own built-in browser.
Yeah.
I don't use it because I'm not a chump, but
well, it's
let's tell them how you really feel about their browser.
No, it's just that I mean, it's not bad if if you're down. It's a lot like how
let me ask you a
lot
question
of you guys
here.
might not understand or don't have the same view towards it that I do because I don't know. I know you haven't played Eve, and the two of you did not play for very long.
Yeah.
Devin and Ben.
Oh God, the Eve browser.
Yeah, Eve's in-game browser was pretty much useless except to like view text files. It was the only thing it was useful for was pretty much like
Google showed up in black and yellow.
Yeah. Oh god, it was atrocious. It was a good concept, you know. They included a web browser in their game so that you could browse the internet with it if you were, because 85% of your
tapping out of an Eve window is too much effort for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's a badly rendered website that you can view directly in the game.
No, yeah, it was one of those things where it was like the only thing I ever remember it being used for was like if there were specific fits of ships that your corp wanted people to have, they would like throw them up on a website as a text file, and then they could direct link you, the HTML of that text file in the internet address of that text file in chat, and then you could click it and it would just bring it up in a browser in Eve. That was the only thing anybody ever used it for, because for a long time any other web, like if you tried to view any sort of like any website that
I think if you make a browser, you should be able to at least load your own website.
Yeah.
In that browser.
Yeah, and that was a thing you couldn't do.
I don't know the last time.
You could not even operate EveOnline.com well.
I don't know the last time you actually
kind of
used.
How I feel about the Steam browser is
the Steam browser is Chrome.
Yeah,
it's been Chrome for a couple of years now.
I just have that, but I just have those memories in my head, and I don't know why, but I am prejudiced against the Steam browser. I hate whenever I'm in a game and one of my friends will send me a link in Steam chat, and I'll shift tab out to bring up the chat window, and I'll click the link, and it'll open the Steam browser, and I don't know why, but I hate that.
I can definitely agree. There's some.
It probably doesn't help that the look of the Steam browser.
Yeah, it's
looks
a lot
the same
like
as the Eve browser.
The Eve browser
it
windows.
looks pretty much exactly the same as the Eve web browser did.
It does have on like older machines, like back my previous computer had some issues with the Steam browser, not because it was like Chrome or anything, but because I'm running a game in the background that was pretty much maxing out my system at the time. So I open that up and it's like, oh, look at this YouTube walkthrough, and I'm like, nope, can't do that here.
and I feel like even though it's Chrome, I feel like it still uses up more resources than just like tabbing out and opening Chrome.
Well, that's because it's Chrome. I mean,
yeah.
Chrome uses way too much memory. Chrome runs great, don't get me wrong, but there are times when I'm like, oh god.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, why is my system lagging? Oh right,
and Steam uses up too much memory. Sometimes.
Steam does.
It's getting a lot better about that, which
true.
Makes me happy seeing that they're going into like trying to do the whole Steam OS with a console thing. My first instinct was, hey, why don't you make sure that Steam doesn't idle at like 100 megs of my memory before you start making
new products
low resource OS.
Yeah. I think So anyway,
times when it's like literally I'm doing practically nothing on my computer, and I'll bring up my task manager and I'll open up and I'll look, and like the number one thing using up idle resources is Steam.
Well, aren't you lucky?
It's like 150
a bunch of things
megs
using way more
memory, and I was like, why are you doing this? Why you do this? Like you're literally minimized in a corner. You're not downloading anything. I'm not playing a game. Why are you using up 150 megs of memory?
Well, got to be online, man. Those Ajax calls, they're not going to do themselves.
To be ready. Yeah, it's got the Boy Scout philosophy. Always be prepared. So it's like the Microsoft philosophy when it comes to memory space. We're going to allocate
preload every single thing.
We're going to allocate 90 gigs of your hard drive just in case you ever need to fill it up with updates. It's not quite that bad, but that's
but totally.
I think
it's that one thing when you bought the 360 in the
anymore.
beginning, it was like, oh yeah, it's a 20 gig hard drive. What do you mean only 13's available?
Yeah, as I was saying, it used to be like 5 gigs was the old standard it used to reserve on the hard drive. I don't know what it is anymore, but
it went up somewhere along the line. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah.
Back, when they started that, like, you pretty much couldn't play a 360 without some sort of memory. When they started coming with onboard memory, with internal memories, because you needed memory to run. You needed a hard drive, basically, to run a 360 at that point. So it needed more actual internal storage space.
Yeah. So anyway. Steambox.
So Steambox. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. It's interesting to see them get into the console race Essentially.
That's
pretty much what they're going to... I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's not a console. And I'm like, make me the argument that a 360 is in a low-resource OS computer.
Yeah.
Make me that argument. And then you can tell me that the Steam Box is not a console. It's like, it's a console. It's an open platform console, but it's essentially a console. And what they're releasing is a console OS.
Yeah.
They're releasing a front-room home video game console operating system. They're just not being proprietary about it. They're releasing it for other people to use on there to build systems around, essentially.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
and see,
falls somewhere between the Ouija and the and the other ones.
The Ouija. Oh, the Ouija. Well, I mean, it's
what is the Ouija?
the
little tiny console.
he's talking about the Ouija.
The Ouija?
But he's calling it the Ouija.
Okay.
Which is a better name for it.
It is a better name for it.
They should adopt.
I agree.
But unfortunately, that name is now trademarked.
Hey, that shoe Steam box you were talking about, that's going to be the Ouija.
The console in the shoes. Now you got to get us in on it because now
The Ouija shoebox.
Now the name is
now we got to
trademarked.
license the name from you
Now
guys.
we gotta license
So it'll be the Ouija shoebox. Got it.
This is droid. This is our droid. This is our droid. This is what this is for. We have captured a word that we can trademark that everybody's going to want to use.
Ouija. So anyway,
It's powered by ghosts.
And I mean,
I'm going to ignore you for now.
not to harsh on it, but I personally see no purpose to things like the Ouija and Android-based consoles. Me personally, I mean, that's mainly.
I feel like if you already have an Android phone, it's pretty much pointless.
Well, I feel like I was.
Well, that's not really the point of them, though. It's not intended to replace your
I know.
phone.
I know, but because of the because of the way that they are made, that's just how it strikes me. I'm aware that they get their own proprietary store with different titles that are specifically made to run well.
But I feel
hardware.
I feel like one of their biggest claims is slightly misleading in the fact that they say like, oh, you have access to all these hundreds and thousands of games because it has access
for the
to the Google
touch
Store.
interface.
Wrong! It does not have access to the Google Store.
Or
that was actually one of the big things that they pitched right at the beginning was that it wasn't going to come with it, but one of the things they're like, you can put anything on here and run it. So, of course, one of the first things people tried to do was put the Google Play Store on it. And guess what it blocked?
the Google Play Store.
Yeah. So people were a little bit pissed about that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other story.
Well, because
That's true. That is a story for another time.
You got that Mad Catz console coming out right now. Atrocious.
The checkpoint has been having a field day with us kicking around.
The new Mad Catz console. It's for the Mojo. And it's essentially like the Ouya. It's supposed to be an Android it's an Android-based console. And it's like 2.5
It's like if all the dumbest ideas behind it's if all the dumbest ideas behind the Ouya were all consolidated into one device, and then they charged 3 times the price for it.
Huh.
Pretty much.
Attention, Mad Catz. Learn to make controllers that don't break before attempting to make a console.
Talk to whoever made your old original Xbox controllers, because they made some good controllers back then.
Here's the plot twist, though, guys. If you buy that console, you have to buy an official Xbox controller. No, an Xbox controller in order to play on their console.
That's their scheme of how they're going to get you.
That's how they get you somehow. I don't know. I just felt
Microsoft.
like I had this. I mentioned this to my roommate the other day. I said that I really feel like the Android-based consoles. I feel like 90% of the games that come out on an Android system are games that are designed for phones and tablets, and in my opinion are designed they're games that are designed as distractions when you have nothing else to do. It's like, oh yeah, if I'm at the DMV waiting for 45 minutes, I have my phone. I can play Angry Birds to keep myself distracted because I can't whip out a TV and an Xbox 360 in the middle of the day. Well, I might be able to.
I think that's a challenge.
They may frown upon that.
I come walking into the DMV with a 42-inch plasma.
You know, when I was at the Microsoft
Power
store up in
cables, all
Seattle, they did have this whole, like, you know, case that you could buy that came with a little TV inside, and, you know, all you did was plug power in, and then it was all there. I was like, huh. And then it was like a $300 $300 for the case. Didn't come with the Xbox at all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, all it was a TV and
like,
an
I
HDMI
remember
port.
I remember on the
Go that
GameCube.
far, just wire it yourself.
Yeah.
I remember on the
for real.
GameCube, they released a little screen that was like, it flopped over.
Oh,
the top
yeah,
of the
I
GameCube.
remember
This
that
little
thing. It's got
screen
the
that you
hinge
could
on
attach
it.
the-
And the
It's
one they
'cause-
had for the PS1,
I was gonna say it's
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's
one
because
for
it's
PS1
because
as
they
well.
were they were
Yeah.
they were tiny.
they did it after that one. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they designed it after they did the PS1 screen.
Yeah. Yeah, the PS1 screen came first, but yeah, the GameCube did one too, which it was always funny.
Yeah.
Those
The
things always
idea
got
behind, like, the Ouya, though, was it's easier for developers to put something out onto the Ouya through Android coding.
Yeah.
And because there's no real licensing fees or anything behind it, you just agreed to, you know, how to do everything with Ouya. The game is free with in-app purchases.
Yeah.
That's how their model works. And so the general idea is it's easier to develop for this. It's free to get it out onto, and then you can, you know, release updates and everything over time. And because it's got a Tegra 3 in it, it has at least some decent power behind it.
Mhm.
So you can make some, you know, relatively powerful games. You're not going to get console quality games, but you're getting, you know, something fun that, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's good as like a in my opinion, I think that the place that it may find will be something akin to like what the Wii had been to the previous generation, which is a console that was available more cheaply, and so a lot of the titles that found their way to them were not targeted at the hardcore gamers, as much as I know you love that term.
Alright, I can kill you later.
Conceptually, yeah, just conceptually.
Where you live.
Yeah.
I don't have the key to your house anymore. though.
That's true.
Damn.
That's true.
I still know where you live.
But yeah, I just like just something that's you know, for people who want to play video games but don't want to front, you know, $500 up front to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, which that's nice.
Yeah.
That's it has its spot, I guess, but I just feel like I don't know. For me, I guess it's more for me. Like I don't see a purpose to those, and I think the thing that really made me that's strange about that's the thing that's the weirdest about the Mojo, the Mad Catz console is. The whole point of like the Ouya is it's $99, so it's like you don't have to make a huge investment. The Mad Catz is $250. Like that's a much more sizable investment for an Android-based console.
Well, and then you've got the Shield from NVIDIA.
Oh yeah.
Now, there's an interesting thing right there because I like the idea behind the Shield.
Some interesting ideas.
So I'm like, okay, great. I can play the games directly on that, and they released a really major update to it today, actually.
Oh, yeah.
With a lot of the, you know, you can install any game from the Play Store, but a lot of them you still had to use the touchscreen to do. They released a whole game mapping thing today, and they've pre-mapped a ton of games.
Oh, wow.
So you can actually just straight up use the controller straight to play it.
Nice.
And then they also have their new. It's not really sure the best way to describe it. They just keep calling it game streaming, but the idea is well, because they have their game streaming, but the idea is now that you can plug the HDMI into your TV,
and then
set it next to your
essentially
TV,
play
have a
the game
Bluetooth
on
controller,
your TV.
and play that. And I like that idea. Here's where I think that would have been better is like you've got like the Chromecast from Google.
Mhm.
If I could have something that was kind of like a Chromecast, or even if it had to be as large as like a Roku, that I plugged in and did everything the Shield does now, but without having the controller built in and having the controller be external, I'd be much more interested in that.
Well, actually, that's one of the things that the Mojo is supposedly going to try to do. Is they're planning on building in PC streaming onto the Mojo, where you can stream from a PC onto the Mojo.
I just don't want to pay $300 for it.
Well, the thing is that the Mojo's not designed to be. I mean, it's small, so it's portable in the fact that it's not a 500-pound elephant that you can't lug around. Like it's it's the size of a Wii, if not smaller than that. Like it looks like it's pretty close to the size of like the Ouya, or even like remember the OnLive console?
I still have mine.
Yeah. Like it looks like it's that small. Like it's a super small, so it's portable in a sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems like with the Mojo, I'm just not sure because they said they wanted to do PC streaming, but they haven't said whether or not you'll be able to like take your Mojo to your friend's house and stream a game from your PC, or if it has to be like in-network stuff, like if you have to be on the same network as your PC and it's only local network that it streams.
Well, and I can kind of understand if they don't put a lot of the effort into
about the Shield that I thought was kind of nice is that it's basically designed as like a PS Vita or a 3DS. It's got a screen built into it. It's got a controller built into it. It is a portable console essentially.
Yeah.
And I can like if I have something on my PC at home that I was like in the middle of playing, but I got to go and say let's use the DMV instance again. But I go down to the DMV for something, or like go get my car's oil change, or I got like a dentist appointment or something. I can like pause the game that I'm playing, pick up my Shield, take it with me, and while I'm waiting in a waiting room, I can keep playing the game that I was playing.
Hopefully you have some decent Wi-Fi.
Yeah, again, that's all unfortunate.
There's limitations
there's a lot
there.
Of stuff, there's a lot of variables.
Unfortunately,
to that,
there's the variable of internet connections, which is a variable you have to kind of take in mind. But I mean, it's not an unexpected variable necessarily.
No,
that's true. But it's a pretty big. I mean, it's a pretty big component in what your abilities will be.
Well, it can drastically alter how well you can play the game if you're getting dropped or lag or things like that. If you're trying to play, any sort of game, and like when you press forward on the stick, 5 minutes later your guy finally walks forward, and then it just drops you.
Yeah,
that's always a concern you have to take into account. It'll be interesting to see. I'm wondering if the SteamOS will go into the streaming route.
No, that's already part of it.
No, I mean, like, will you be able to stream from the Steam box to like a portable device? I think starting to introducing something like that, because I mean that seems like the next logical step. I mean, you have it with the PS4 and the PS Vita, how you'll be able to stream PS4 games to your PS Vita.
Yeah.
When are they going to design, something portable or team up with something like NVIDIA where you can stream from a Steam box to a portable device?
So that'd be interesting because that also, at that point, that depends on how you're using your Steam box.
To a Steam box really seems like superfluous to me.
Well, that's but that depends on what you've built.
If you're going to stream a video game to the Steam box, why don't you just like play it on your Steam box and cut out the middleman?
Put the game on there.
Yeah.
Well, the idea there is basically what I built my PC kind of for, with the anticipation of some of this kind of stuff, was that the idea is I'm going to put together my own Steam box. I've already got a little bit of hardware for it, and I'm going to build a tiny computer that I'm going to put under my TV. The point being that if I want to play one of my games on my TV downstairs, I can leave my computer upstairs.
Yeah.
And sit in the comfort of my couch and use the surround sound downstairs and have the nicer setup, versus sitting in my, uncomfortable chair in my office.
The thing that I'm saying is that it seems like the Steam box is designed to just be able to play all of these games that you can play on your computer.
Well, and that depends on what level you go for.
Yeah. But, I mean, that is true. That is true. I guess that's one thing, is you could buy, like, the cheapest Steam box and just stream stuff from, like, a really good PC that you have.
Yeah.
If that's what you're going for.
And that is what I'm basically going for. Because I've got a Raspberry Pi at home that I'm not doing jack with, and my plan is, I don't know how great SteamOS is going to run on it. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
There might be some real big asterisks, and it runs on Raspberry Pi.
It runs, quote unquote.
It runs the same way that the Minecraft server runs. One person can play on it.
Yeah.
If you put the second one on there, you're going to have some problems.
Crash. Player 2 has entered the game.
Pretty much. But, that's kind of where I'm going for that.
I guess I could see that.
So the idea behind the Steam box is beyond just the gaming, though, too. They said they're working with media partners to put all the things you would, normally know to be on those platforms. So I'm expecting to see, Netflix, YouTube, Hulu.
Well, yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Netflix,
guaranteed. Everything has Netflix these days. My refrigerator has Netflix.
Well, yeah, it's like, well, it's like once this thing becomes its own operating system, it's 2 seconds after they were like, let's make a SteamOS. everybody in the room was like, "We can make apps for it now." And like evil Mr. Burns fingers. Like, I understand the concept is not inherently evil.
Well, I've already seen plenty of people, hack little apps into Steam, with the big picture mode where they're like, launch Netflix from there. Yeah. Unfortunately, at that point, you still have to have, your mouse and keyboard with Netflix, unless you're using some very specific app built on PC. But that's a totally different story.
How it's only like as I imagine immediately after even the whole SteamOS thing went public, if Valve had not already contacted Netflix, I'm sure Netflix would have been like, "Hey, let's get an app."
Yeah, I'm sure Reed Hastings would be like, "We have to have it there."
Yeah, but they're not going to pass up the opportunity to get more viewers.
He's basically, Netflix's CEO Reed Hastings is basically like, Netflix needs to be on every platform ever possible.
Like, if we could put it on your dog, we would put it on your dog.
Teletubbies.
I think it would be Telepuppies at that point.
Well, that's true.
Trademark.
Yeah, it's very nice. Trademark.
Copyright.
Trademark. Fingering it.
Also patent pending when we get around to it.
Yeah, it's also patent pending as well.
We'll figure out a way to make that work. We need to call some unethical veterinarians.
First patent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that they
pimp my horse.
What?
Have you not seen that Freddie Wong's video, Pimp My Horse?
Pimp My Horse.
We'll watch that later.
Watch it at some point.
I understand that they have to put like Netflix and all the video streaming services on there for people who aren't going to buy the SteamOS and necessarily have another box.
Yeah.
But I got to wonder what percentage of their target audience already has maybe one, maybe three devices that already do that.
I mean, it's getting to the point where if I went down to the store and bought a TV today, I'd be hard-pressed to find a TV that doesn't already have it.
Yeah.
That's not going to... I don't think that's going to stop them from doing it, because there are people, like, say if this, like, the TV that I have in my room that uses my monitor, say if this was, like, my main TV, this was, like, my actual TV that I had set up, and, like, if I had, like, a studio apartment, and this was, like, my TV on my wall, and then my TV does not have Netflix. So it's like, yes, but I do have a computer and a 360 and a Wii that can all play Netflix. But if I'm just done playing a game on my Steam box, like if I got a Steam box, and I'm just done playing a game on my Steam box, it is a matter of convenience to not have to turn off my Steam box, turn on a 360, or turn on my Wii, or turn on my laptop and boot up another product to then go to Netflix. It definitely...
The unification is a bonus.
Yeah, the thing is it's the convenience factor of whatever I'm doing. I don't have to turn off whatever I have on and turn on another device to watch Netflix. I'm not necessarily saying that's a philosophy I embrace wholly, but that is clearly Netflix's philosophy. Is if you get the urge to watch Netflix, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you have a device that you're basically whatever device you're using has that capability. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, I really want to watch Netflix right now, but like, I don't want to turn on my 360. Like, I know that's lazy person, but
first world problems, baby.
But that is a first world problem.
But to be honest, it really does keep people from using it.
But there are people. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are like let's say they're watching something on TV. And it's like late at night, they're like watching something on TV, like they're in bed watching something on TV, about to fall asleep, and they're like, I kind of want to watch this thing on Netflix. So it's like, oh, but that means I'd have to turn on my 360, boot up Netflix, but I'll just keep watching TV for the next half hour until I fall asleep.
Hey,
it is a thing.
That's also no cost to Netflix, because that means you're still paying them and not using their bandwidth.
It is, but it's one of those things where the more convenience the service has, the more people are going to recommend it and use it. And
right.
So, that's just that's their business philosophy.
Yeah. I understand it completely from Netflix's end. It's just, I wonder, it's not really a selling point for the Steam box.
For me, it's absolutely not a selling point, because I'm not a lazy
Well, for some people though, like for me, for instance,
have that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are people.
I wonder what percentage of their customer base.
It would be an interesting number to see. It would be a very interesting number to see, because it would probably be relatively low.
Yeah.
Mainly because, like I said, I mean, you take out my 360, you take out my Wii, I still have a computer and a phone that can watch Netflix.
Yeah.
and my roommate has 3 TVs that can use Netflix. It's like it's one of those things where it's like it's hard to avoid something that has Netflix on it these days. So it's like I just kind of assume it's going to have it. Yeah,
that's true.
I mean,
in the United States, you can pretty much throw a rock and get a device.
I don't think like percentage of user base doesn't even apply to Netflix's philosophy anymore. Like they're just like blanket sweep everything. Like if it's got a screen and a processor in it, we're putting Netflix on it.
So anyway,
yeah,
what I'm kind of hoping to see in the Steam box, and something that I can personally build is I would like a single device sitting under my TV at home that does Netflix, that does my games, and that can play my Blu-rays.
Yeah,
that's what I really do want out of the Steam box. Hulu, I guess, would be nice. I don't pay for Hulu Plus, so I don't really care too much.
Yeah,
HBO Go also would be nice. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if that...
Amazon Instant Video, they'll probably put it on there.
Will happen.
Because once Amazon's the same way, just like Netflix is, they want to be on everything they can. Which is funny, though, because it's like, okay, I can pick up my iPad, and I can watch Amazon Instant Video. I can watch it on my Xbox. I can watch it on my PlayStation. I can watch it on my PC. Guess what I can't watch it on?
Your fridge?
My Android devices.
Oh, really?
No. Unless I have a Kindle, I cannot watch Amazon Instant Video on an Android device.
His fridge, on the other hand...
I can understand that philosophy over Netflix's philosophy for Amazon specifically because they want to avoid you buying somebody else's tablet to watch Amazon.
Then why'd they put it on an iPad?
I don't know.
Just being fair.
I would say at that point probably it's just market exposure.
I think that's a market share
and
sort of
and it's
decision.
It's not even just iPad. I mean, to be fair, it's iOS in general. On your iPod, your touch on your iPhone and your iPad.
Because Amazon doesn't make a phone, so to make it available on the iPhone. Subsequently, it becomes available on the iPad, and it probably would have been a lot of bureaucratic and legal mumbo-jumbo and red tape to jump through for them to be like, no, you can have it available on iPhone, but not iPad. And it was probably easier for them to just go, make it available on iOS. And there you go.
And before any of you comment or say it, yes, I know I could play it on my tablet if I installed Flash and used Firefox, but that's annoying.
That's annoying.
No, that's not using it. That's a hack.
That is a hack to get to it.
That's a stupid backdoor way of forcing it to work when it's not supposed to.
Because let me tell you, I've done it. It is not an enjoyable experience.
Oh no. No.
It's not like using Netflix where the play and pause buttons are right there. All I have to do is tap the screen and do whatever.
Yeah.
With Amazon, it's a different story entirely.
Yeah.
So, anyway. But yeah, that's where I think the Steam box is going. For the people who are probably going to buy the hardware, I think that's where the weird side of things comes in because are you buying a PC? Are you buying a console? Yeah.
Well,
is it going to be upgradable?
You have a PC that you dual boot into. Like it's also a Steam box.
It's a Steam box, and it runs. I see no reason why somebody could not do that. I mean, you dual boot your PC. You have a dual boot, dual boot OS. One OS is the Steam OS. One's Windows or maybe Mac. I'm not sure how well Mac and Steam OS will work.
Yeah.
As pet buddies.
Get yourself a Hackintosh going.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing there, too, is it's like, okay, say you build yourself a Steam box and you put Windows on there, and then you put Steam onto Windows in there, and guess what you just built yourself? Another Steam box!
Inception.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm going to put Steam on this, and then I'm going to put Windows in that Steam, and then put Steam in that Windows, and then, yo, dog.
I will run a virtual box. I'll open up Steam OS, run a virtual box, install Windows on it, and install Steam on that, and I'll stream it from the host computer up to the virtual computer.
That's the kind of things that...
You see what we mean about dealing with talking to Devin?
I shouldn't say this, but I'm doing it anyways. Those are the kind of dreams those are the kind of wet dreams that Gabe Newell has, is you being able to do all those things.
Do all those
He has wet dreams of those while he sleeps on his piles of money.
Must be comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Run those hundreds through a wash a few times.
Yeah.
Just get a shitload of them in there.
Who's got the cleanest $100 bills ever now?
Not Gabe Newell. He never showers.
So now we got to talk about...
Sorry, Gabe. Sorry.
Well, I guess we're not getting a promo Steam.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess that's out the
Ouch.
window.
So if I ever apply to Valve, don't
I'm gonna-
tell them about this.
No, I was going to say, I'm going to send Valve an email right now. If this man ever applies to your company, send me an email, and I will send you an audio file.
How often do you think they get wanted posters over there at Valve?
Wanted posters. Oh, that's good.
I left the other day when I was playing
Have you
some
seen this,
Left 4
man?
Dead 2 with one of my buddies, and he had a mod that turns the oh shit, I can't remember the name of the really fat zombies. It turns them into Gabe Newell. The boomers, thank you. I was like, it was 2 days ago. I was just playing this. It turned boomers into Gabe Newell. I was like, oh my god, that is fantastic. It's so mean.
Super mean.
He's not a thin man. I'm not his doctor. I'm not gonna tell him he's like unhealthily overweight, but he's not a thin man, so he's gotta be used to that by now.
Him and Peter Jackson could be friends.
Yeah.
Except for PJ slimmed way
I say
down.
PJ slimmed way down.
He did. That's why I'm saying they should be friends, because then he can slim with him. And then he could grow a crazy beard.
A great bushy beard.
A great bushy beard. Oh. Why?
References.
Yeah, instead, he's making friends with J.J. Abrams, and I don't know about that.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that.
Half-Life 3, Lens Flare.
The whole game, you play the whole game, you just can't see anything. It's just all lens flares from whatever light sources are near you.
Gordon, over here. No, over here.
No.
Why are you looking the other way? No, I'm over here. Can't you even see me?
Sorry, JJ.
I'm not. I'm not.
Star Trek Into Darkness with Lens Flare.
See, most ironic. Is that the most ironic movie title ever? Is Star Trek Into Darkness? Anything directed by J.J. Abrams with the subtitle Into Darkness does that make it the most ironic movie in history?
But see, in this game, we then have to put the levels where the lens flare turns off and the camera goes. And those will be the fight sequences.
Yep.
You're fighting the camera. So balance out, you little.
Yeah.
No, because
The game's on autopilot.
It's like
steady the
the climbing system from Shadows of Colossus, but instead of climbing something, you're trying to stabilize a camera.
I don't know. When you started saying it's like the climbing system, my mind just went from The Price is Right with the little the yodeler one. What is that game? Oh god!
Why did your
don't.
Did you just say buenos noches, hombres?
Moving on.
Buenos.
Yes.
So the other part of the whole Steam box thing that we can talk about is the Steam controller.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that
Who
up.
has seen the things on the Steam controller?
Man, that thing looks
Sure
weird.
You have. I'm sure Ben has.
Yeah, I've seen
Did you
pictures
see the
of it,
demonstration video?
but no, and that was the thing is I was gonna ask what do we even know about it? Because I mean they
Okay.
talk about like
Okay,
the
I'm
buttons
gonna
and
pause
features
this.
and like the haptic touch whatever
I'm
on
gonna
the back or
pause this.
something.
Stop
We're
talking,
gonna
he's
watch
talking.
the video and then come right back,
All right,
and
so
then you guys will have a better idea and we can discuss.
we'll be right back, folks.
So now we've seen the video. So now you guys have seen the video, and now we can talk about the controller.
I'm interested to hear what you two do have to say now that you have seen it in some action.
Yeah. Well, I think first I think I want to hear from Kyle. I think I want to hear from Tymo first because we started the video and his first response is their trackpads. I already hate it. Which I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with you, but I want to
Yeah,
hear.
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
It just seems completely counterintuitive to me, but that may be because I've been playing with analog joysticks for so long on a controller. It just, especially the way they had it configured, and I realize you can configure it however you want, so maybe somebody will make some kind of magic configuration that makes it the best control solution ever. But the one-to-one with the mouse pad configuration, it just seems like it would be awkward to use because with a mouse, I have a whole desk to move the mouse around on.
Yeah.
So if I need to get one side of the screen to the other, depending on my sensitivity levels on the mouse, it's not that hard. It's you don't have to pick up the mouse and start over a lot anymore nowadays. But it seems like with that controller, I would have to move my thumb a little bit, stop and go back, and kind of drag to move stuff around a lot, especially in a first-person view.
Well, I mean, with the configuration, I mean, it might not always end up being 1-to-1. You might be able to say, 1 to 5. One quick swipe with your thumb might get you all the way across the screen. Or you could even have, a thing where hold at the end of the. Then you would lose some accuracy.
Your precision.
Well, I would say it would be dependent on what environment you're in. I would say if you're playing in a game, you wouldn't have that configuration. But if you're playing around on a desktop, or you're playing Civ, or you're playing Papers, Please.
It may even be tricked out in such a way by the time that it's actually out that you could do something like have a button to swap between. So you could have it in.
Oh, I'm sure.
Normally, it'd be lightning fast to pan around, but if you want precision, you can hold down one of the triggers or something.
I'm sure, definitely.
And you have a precision aiming mode where you can then.
Well, it could even be mapped to, because there's. For people who haven't seen it, there are the 2 trackpads on the face, which essentially function think of them like the WASD keys in the mouse, or the two joysticks on a regular controller, regular video game controller, the standard.
Yeah, modern.
So it is the modern standards. And then there are 4 actual face buttons, 2 near each trackpad, and then there's a touch screen on the front, which they've said will kind of be a contextual area for extra functions that can change, that don't necessarily need to be permanently tied to a button. And that looks like, in general, that might be split up into about 4 quadrants. So that's another 4 buttons or so on the front that can change in what they do. They can be contextual. And then it has 2 triggers on the backside, kind of in the normal spot where your index finger and middle finger would naturally rest. And then it actually has on the backside of it, has 2. They look like touchpads to me. I don't know if they've actually released if they're a touch-sensitive pad or if they're actual buttons. But there's 2 other buttons that kind of function as kind of
grip triggers.
Triggers for each side, for each hand. So those are the kind of buttons you're working with. And I mean, I definitely think that if nothing else, you could assign one of the face buttons to be essentially a DPI modder, because I don't use it now. I had an old mouse. It was a SteelSeries mouse where it had a DPI button on it, where I just pressed the button and it changed what DPI my mouse was functioning at. And it was nice because I could actually go into it. Came with its own program where I could go in and set the DP, because it had 2 values it would change between. But you could set what each value was. You could go into the program and be like, I want this one to be, I want the low setting to be 300. I want the high setting to be 1200. I mean, that'd be gross. But if you wanted to do that,
that'd be a pretty crazy difference.
But if you wanted to do that, you could do it.
If you're doing something like sniping and you drop down the DPI, your little movements, don't go so far as you would with the
and that's kind of what that functionality was always designed for. It was designed for the first-person shooters. It was designed for when you're a sniper. When you're in aiming, you want it on low DPI so you can be precise, and then when you're moving around, you can click it to high DPI so that way you don't have to pick up your mouse and move it when you want to turn.
A quick flick of the wrist turns you all the way around instead of,
And anyway. I certainly imagine that will be at least, and that I think the only thing I have with the controller is how much functionality you're going to get out of it. I think, unfortunately, is actually going to be largely based on the game you're playing.
That was what I was thinking too. Is it feels to me like it's a very, very configurable controller, which is potentially good, and it depends on the developers that make the games, and it depends on how you choose to set it up for yourself also.
Because when I first saw it, when I first saw the controller, my thought was it kind of reminds me of how the Wii controller turned out for the Wii. When it was a Nintendo game, it came out awesomely. Like, it worked really, really well on the Nintendo games. It was when it came into the third-party games that a lot of third-party games
sometimes
didn't
it was kind of hit or miss
very nicely. Yes. So I feel like when it comes to this new Steam controller that you might run into a similar situation that, the Valve games are going to work amazingly on it. But if I want to go play, Saints Row or any other game you can get on Steam, like if I want to go play a third-party title on this
Terraria.
controller. Yeah, Terraria. Oh God. I love that game, but my heart goes out to anybody that tries to play that on like a console with a controller.
Oh, that would
the
be
inventory management
bad
on the system with a
times.
Controller would be atrocious.
Inventory management with a straight mouse and keyboard is already kind of a bitch in
with
that
mouse
game.
and keyboard isn't really amazing, but it's
Yeah.
leagues ahead of whatever it would be with a controller. So, but yeah, it's like, and then you get a third-party game in there. Is the third-party game going to use the controller very poorly? And that's the question. Because like Kyle's response of their trackpads, I already hate it, was very close to my initial response. Because when it comes to the arguments over which control scheme is better, mouse and keyboard versus controller, things like that, I think the one thing that mouse and keyboard players cannot argue against is in games where in games with movement, like first-person shooters, platformers, third-person action games, or something like that, an analog joystick is far superior when it comes to actual avatar movement than WASD is.
Yeah.
WASD is far inferior to an analog joystick. With an analog joystick, you can have things like how far you press the controller can move you quicker in that direction.
You don't have to hold
do
control
things
to slow yourself
you don't
down
have
or shift
to
to run.
limited to 8 directions.
Well, see, but this would be this would be
movement.
something that though that I would think would be something that as a developer you could work on addressing, and that if you knew that this was something that in advance that you were going to potentially have customers playing on, you could develop it in such a way that the game is able to respond to WASD commands by blending them together depending on the position received.
Well,
by
and the thing is that he showed it mapped to WASD.
Right, just straight mapped.
I'm wondering if I'm sure that you can do it. I'm sure it's not hard to do. Just map one of those trackpads to function as an analog joystick.
Right.
The question is, again, that comes back around to, I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a thing of some games are probably going to let you do that. Some games are probably going to let you do what I would think would be, in my opinion, my favorite control scheme would be for the movement, for the left trackpad, whichever one you want to adapt it to, for your movement trackpad, it would function like an analog joystick, where it actually has some things like acceleration base, where it's like how far you move down the trackpad determines how fast you start moving in that direction. It would start to become omnidirectional, more clearly omnidirectional, instead of interpreting values of W and D when you want to move up and to the right.
Well,
from what I gathered, it was going to be something that was going to be configurable beyond just the game, though.
But the question is how many games are actually going to try and tell each of the things like what to do, and how many games are just going to, the left trackpad is essentially mapped to WASD. Because the thing is, like, I would love to have an analog joystick as my movement joystick, but I will admit an analog joystick isn't in my opinion, it's not the best control when it comes to things like aiming in like a first-person shooter.
So
a mouse can be very nice for that.
A mouse is much more accurate.
I have them both? Can I have the right trackpad mapped to mouse movement and like one-to-one if I want it, with altering DPIs at a button press like we talked about, and have the left trackpad mapped to an analog joystick? Or am I stuck with it's either WASD and a mouse or 2 analog joysticks?
Given the thing that they said is very configurable, I say that with quotes,
and again,
I'm sure there'll be plenty on the other side. We'll have to wait until it comes out to really...
I think that's a thing where, in my mind, I see that playing out exactly like the Wii Remote Nunchuck ended up playing out. I'm sure when it comes to a Valve game, like when I boot up Team Fortress 2 with that controller, I'm sure I'll be able to configure it to all hell. Like, I'm sure I'll be able to make every button do whatever the hell I want it to do.
Oh, yeah.
But,
well, especially if you tell the OS that you're going to, bind each button to a key, or something like that, then at that point you're just doing key bindings. You're using XPattern at that point, but it's built into the system.
When you're doing key bindings like that, when things emulate key movement, when they emulate keyboard input, that's a purely digital input. That's not an analog response.
No, I know.
So that's the thing is everything just going to essentially be using this controller as X-patter and just mapping digital button responses to all of the inputs on this controller?
Yeah. We'll find out.
One of my other issues is the face button placement. Does anybody else feel?
No,
that
completely
this goes back to. I mean, it's a
There was
personal
reasoning
preference to
behind
me, but
It's wrong, whatever it is.
The idea is your
reasons are bad, and
fingers-
you should feel bad.
Your fingers are no more than an inch away from the buttons. There's no major reaching anymore. It's right there. It's right
but
there.
here's the thing.
It is a little weird to
Here's
break
the thing for me.
what you're used
And
to.
again, I'm not saying this is for me is personal preference. Again, this.
But
for
I think
me,
it's a more natural reach out for the thumbs than up for the thumbs.
their direct placement, I'm not necessarily against. The concept of putting the buttons kind of just on the edge of the trackpad, I'm kind of for that. But here's my thing that I don't like about it. Especially, like I said, this boils down. This really applies to games like first-person shooters or action games or platformer games. I want to take my thumb off of my movement stick as little as possible.
Yeah.
That's a very good
I
point.
want to have very little reason. And on a standard controller
If they had lined the buttons up next to one of the sides,
design,
I could see that.
Yeah, if there was like
It
four,
makes
if there were
sense.
4 buttons or something on
Because
the
it-
one side by your by your right
like
thumb
if they
or
were
something.
all in the same relative position, but they were all on the 4 corners of the right trackpad, I actually that would be much better for me because like on a standard console controller, really, I mean, there's a D-pad on the left side, but we don't count that because barely anybody uses it for anything practical. on the left side of a standard controller, there's pretty much just the one joystick.
That's
And
pretty
that's
much what
it.
people use.
And that's why, so for me, I feel it's more important for you to not take your thumb off of the ability to run around.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, if a guy's chasing me, I don't necessarily need to look where he is, but I definitely want to move away from wherever he
If you're running away and you need to do something while running away,
yeah, it's much more important to me.
I mean, I guess you could, just go, click, with your other hand.
yeah, but that's, I mean,
it's
reaching
awkward.
a hand
But that
across
defeats the
controller-
point then.
But
At that
that's
point-
why
at that
it's
point you're
poor
defeating the purpose.
design.
I think you know what I think.
Well, he said,
If it was-
I think really it
When it comes down to it, I'm not buying one.
and that comes to,
Well,
and that comes to a
if
point
it's
of
me,
personal
I want to
preference.
try. I want to try it. For me, I
Yeah.
wish that I
Try
had
it, sure.
one
I'm not
where
going
I
to
could try. Well, but that's the thing.
I'm not going to be a
know.
day one adopter.
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say. Oh, I have to buy one right now. But I'm also not going to say that's not for me because it's like I think that there's definitely some promise there, and I really want to see how it plays out for certain kinds of games. One thing that I'm a little sad that I didn't see in the video that we were watching is like a straight up RTS. Like how does StarCraft 2
Like a
play
real-
on something
Well,
like
and
that?
I mean, it was
You
nice
know?
that they showed the Steam developer guy going through it, but like, I would really love to see it demonstrated. Like,
Yeah, give it to somebody.
Give it to
some dude.
give it to a Counter Strike Go professional,
Yeah,
and like the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing they could do to try and make a case for this Steam controller is give it to somebody who's a mouse and keyboard enthusiast. Like, give it to somebody who uses pretty much mouse and keyboard all the time. Have them play, Counter Strike Go, and then tell me how. Like, this guy who's designing it and development as part of the R&D team, it's like, yeah, of course it's gonna.
of course he likes
It's
it.
gonna be okay for him, but it's
They
like, I
could
want
have
to see.
practiced that specific segment over
Yeah,
and over.
yeah, that's
So
it. That's
they're
true. Like, they
now
showed
I can
off.
toss
They
this
showed
boss
off.
like a
Yeah,
boss.
they showed off that Counter Strike training room. The Counter Strike Go training room was like, yeah, what run is this? Is this run 932 or is this run 2? Like, it's important to know that sort of thing, and I think that's what they need to do. And for those of you who are going to watch the video too, I think one thing about the video that I also was sad about is, like we talked about, it doesn't really show what he's doing with his fingers on like the
Yeah, you
triggers.
can only see the
Yeah.
top.
Like, you can really only
see the
see the
trackpad,
face of the
basically.
controller, and he he doesn't use he doesn't use the buttons on the face of the
Yeah,
controller.
he didn't use
No,
the
he
face
doesn't.
He didn't use
buttons.
the face buttons at all. Everything was done with the back.
You know,
Which was impressive to watch everything that he was doing without using those.
If it was
Nice,
me,
but
if I was
but
designing
but you're
control for
playing-
something
but you're
like
playing
that, I
Portal
think
2.
that's the right way
Yeah.
to do it.
Well, I was more interested in how, I mean, because Portal 2 is kind of, when they made it, it's a simplistic game. But when he was playing like
only
Civ,
so many buttons that are involved in Portal 2.
but when he was playing Civ, I was more interested to see what he was doing because.
Yeah.
But then again, that's mostly kind of a point and click game anyway.
Yeah, Civ is more complicated.
And Papers,
Can
Please
map-
is
you
most
can-
definitely
Oh,
point
yeah.
and click.
It's all point and click. In fact, it's not even like point and left or right.
You wouldn't
It's
even
like
need.
all
You could
point
play
and
that with
button.
one hand in the
You
Steam
can play it on
controller.
a touchscreen.
Yeah.
You can play it on a touchscreen. Like, you don't need a mouse at all. Like, you don't even need the dual button functionality of a standard PC mouse. All you need is a pointer and one button.
You get one of those old-timey Mac pointers.
OG Mac buttons.
Yeah.
OG Mac buttons.
Stab you.
Get the Mac soap.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mac bar of soap.
We'll see. I'm not sure that I can get behind the trackpads. I'm not a fan in general.
I don't know. I think it's.
trackpads just in general.
I really like the thinking outside the box, but I want to feel it. I want to give it a try.
yeah.
See how it goes. Get some of that haptic action going on, and just find out. Just get in there, give it a try, find out if it sucks or if I like it,
Yeah,
and then make a real choice about it.
Moving on. No, we're not going to mention what's happened there. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing of the trackpads might feel nicer, but it's just in general, I'm not a trackpad fan.
Yeah.
If I could remove the trackpads and replace them with other things, that'd be.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, if you could like screw them out and then screw in like hardware.
There were people on Reddit who were talking about just that kind of thing, and there was people who were saying that they were seeing sources that said that the controller would be, that would be something you would be able to, to be able to like disassemble and put other components into it.
No,
And
that's a feature they have to reserve for Steambox 2. You gotta think about marketing, guys. You gotta sit on some of your features so you'll have stuff to put in the next one.
Shut up, Apple.
I agree.
Yeah, that totally is the
Steambox
Apple
S.
Yeah.
Steam Controller S. That's.
No, that was Microsoft.
I know that was like that's the joke.
Oh man,
Joke.
just saying. Back when the Apple II came out, then you got the 2S, which is kind of funny that Microsoft had the Xbox controller and then the Xbox controller S.
Yeah. Well, I think that was really just it's not like where it's like with Apple.
Yeah.
It's like when Apple releases a something S, the S is like a small version. It's like a miniature version, if you will. Whereas
No, it actually stands for. What does it stand for?
When they did it with the iPhone line, they kept saying S stood for speed.
That's
When they made the 3G to the 3GS, they were like, the S stands for speed.
Now
that's
all
stupid.
I have pictured in my head is Homer Simpson with the pickaxe on the hood of his car.
Speed holes.
Speed holes. S stands for speed. Yeah, sure so.
Okay, new plan. I'm going to take my iPhone and a pickaxe.
Put some speed holes in it.
I'm going to turn my iPhone 5 into an iPhone 5S. Speed!
But yeah, it's
Post that to Reddit, like 3 people will follow.
But yeah, it's normally the 3GS is smaller than the regular 3G. Like it's slimmer, right?
No.
It was slimmer.
They were the same size.
It's the same form factor.
The
But
4 to the
main
4S,
difference-
same thing. It was the same form
the main
factor,
difference here is
faster.
The Xbox controller and then the Xbox S. The Xbox S is the logical size for a controller, and the original Xbox controller was apparently designed for Andre the Giant.
Well,
I don't know why.
You know what I think happened? You know what I think happened is everyone who designed the original Xbox controller, they played on a Dreamcast, and they were like, I loved that thing.
But it's
Hey,
way
buddy.
bigger.
I like the Dreamcast.
So did I. That's my point.
I like the Dreamcast. I like the Dreamcast and all, but the original Xbox controller is bigger, way bigger than a Dreamcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's
I liked my.
it's
That's
like
harkening back to our Mad Catz conversation. I liked.
hoagie.
I had a Mad Catz Xbox controller for my OG Xbox. It wasn't as large as the original, but it was the same button configuration. But it was in between the size of the S and the original. But it had the configuration with the white and the black being up and to the right.
Yeah. No,
And I
I've seen
liked
those.
that better.
I miss the black and white buttons.
They just turned into triggers, essentially.
I know.
That's what happened.
It's-
Bumpers,
They
yeah.
turned into triggers. They turned they turned those face buttons.
Because if you throw an OG Xbox game in, guess what they turn into? The bumpers.
Yep, they're the bumpers. Left and right bumper are mapped to X or black and white.
Yep.
I don't remember which one's which, but I don't care.
We'll just say respectively anyway.
Yeah, respectively.
Respectfully.
Yeah, the original Xbox controller. I mean, that was like those videos you see of guys that have like hamburgers that are like 3-pound patties. It's like trying to play with one of those.
You mean like when Windows 7 came out and Microsoft did that thing with Burger King over in Japan?
Yeah.
This is the Whopper 7.
The Whopper 7. It's like trying to, that's where they got the idea for the Whopper 7. Somebody was looking at the old artwork for an original Xbox controller.
Like, this thing is huge. It's like I've got like seven
a
patty
patty
hamburger. Hey, we should do this with Windows, guys.
Light bulbs go off.
And history was made.
Yep.
No, seriously though, that thing was ridiculous. It was kind of like they had the same mentality of, they're like, okay, so future technology is small, but we're kind of still working on this. So
We're making
I feel like it's an improvement that we've been able to scale it down from our original room size model when we had the original Xbox that was a yes.
Just another thing that reminds me of the Dreamcast controller comparison is the memory card slots.
yeah. Slots were totally VMU slots.
Oh,
They
man,
totally were.
those were awesome.
They just were the MU, not the VMU.
Maybe
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe what happened is in the
Somebody from
original
Sega.
dev build, they just hardwired
hardwired. Somebody just spliced in a Dreamcast.
Yeah,
They were like, we can't use Sony controllers. Hey, well, here, I have this old Dreamcast. Perfect.
Perfect. Sega's not doing shit with their hardware anymore. Perfect.
I'm just gonna say their controllers were bigger because they're Merca.
Marka.
That's America.
What they
Now
didn't
it
think
is-
about.
now
Maybe
it's
that's
bigger
why.
controllers.
Maybe that's why the Xbox didn't take off in Japan. Is none of them could fit the controller in their
No,
hands.
you do know that's why they have the smaller controllers, right? The second generation of controllers that were smaller, they started making them in Japan first for exactly that reason, because
This
people
is
couldn't
why
play with them.
I'm going to hell.
I think that's a good place to stop this.
Dear one Japanese person who watches
Okay,
this
so
in
let's
the future,
get the final
I'm
score.
sorry.
Final score. Interest in Steambox is fairly low. Tymo might actually buy one only to kick the controller out the window.
and I will be building
The
one.
controller is interesting. I think it's one of those things where I think I just have a lot of unanswered questions because the only person I saw use it was some R&D guy. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see somebody who's an actual avid gamer use it, and I want to actually get my hands on it myself as well.
Yeah.
I think that's how I feel about the controller.
Yeah.
And the box, I mean...
What's in the box?
What's in the box? God,
No, we're
why
wrapping
we've
this
been
up.
doing
Stop
that
it.
So much since PAX.
Since oh my god, I don't
I
know.
don't understand why.
I even
I
borrowed
don't know
that
what
movie so
happened
we
in
can
PAX.
watch it.
I don't know what happened at PAX, but apparently whatever happened there got us thinking of
I don't
Seven.
even remember.
Not stop ever since.
What I don't remember what panel that started in. Probably
Uh,
TV.
It might have been. But like the actual box itself, I mean, I definitely see its merit. I'm not I probably won't necessarily get a box as a Steam box, but I definitely could see myself building a computer with the plans of, like we were talking, like Ben mentioned, of dual doing.
Yeah.
Loading up a Steam OS, and then that's what I play pretty much all my games on, and then having a regular OS for, internet browsing, audio and video editing for the channel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would be the only way I'm interested in it. I mean, as it is, I have a device that runs Steam. I don't need
Yeah.
another device that runs Steam.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
in
that's kinda where I
reality,
am,
the
too.
initial target, the group that Steam's trying to nab is not us. We all have
Yeah.
PCs and play games on Steam.
No, I think
It's-
they're trying to nab me.
Well,
Yeah.
appropriately.
Show me
No,
on the
I
doll
think-
where Steam nabbed
I
you.
think,
No, we're wrapping this up.
I think the real well, but I'm saying I think the audience they're really trying to get their hooks into is the console.
Yeah.
The people who don't have dedicated PCs to do all of these things that the Steam box can do.
Yeah.
I think that's who they're trying to get. They're
The people
trying
who
to
are
get
looking at
they're
the next
trying to get a
generation
portion
going,
of that
I don't know if
market.
I want to drop $400 on a
like,
PS4.
I don't know if I want an Xbox whatever or a PS4. I don't
Xbox
whatever.
whatever.
I refuse to call it by whatever its real name is. I know what its real name is, by the way, all the people in the comments.
All two of
Both
you.
of you, yeah.
Yeah, all
Well,
two of you.
that's an interesting
You
idea
smart
that I
asses.
hadn't considered for the Steam box is that when you upgrade to a new Steam box, you're not going to lose your library.
Yeah.
So,
You don't lose your library. You won't even lose your game saves anymore because, I mean, it's becoming less
Pretty
and
much
less
everything
of a
uses
thing.
cloud at this
Yeah, I
point.
say it's becoming less and less of a thing even on consoles as it is. But yeah, you don't lose. Like, I could buy a Steam box tomorrow. I have I have 100
You could
some games in my
move your
Steam library.
saves, you know?
Yeah.
You could move your library to do
I
an easy install.
I
We
could
figured
move-
out how to
I
do
could-
that
yeah.
really fast.
Yeah. That's something I'm curious about is how much like file management like we were doing where at the LAN party we had set up where we were moving Unreal Tournament 2K4 via a external hard drive instead of downloading it on everybody's computer.
Well, that's been something that's been around for a while, and I'm sure that's because it still is
But I'm
Linux
just
at the
curious
core.
how easy it's going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
with
well,
the Steam box.
The Steam boxes are supposed to be running SteamOS. That's what SteamOS is
Yeah.
developed for. So at its core, it's still Linux. So even if there wasn't, even
that's
if they didn't have a Windows X manager and they built their own thing for whatever stupid reason, they would do that.
Well, I mean, even then, as a Linux-based system, you could just get
Terminal, any
Yeah,
kind
you
of
could just get
client,
in terminal.
anytime you have some kind of, if you give me a console, and you give me some commands,
Yeah.
I'm sure I could get my files over there.
Terminal interface name, terminal cancer.
I'm not doing that.
No.
You're a terrible person.
This is coming from the racist guy. This is coming from the guy who dropped racist comments earlier.
At least I'm not joking about people dying.
Sometimes people don't die from
That's
cancer.
where he draws the line. That's where he draws the line.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to make jokes about the
We'll
earthquake that hit
take them
Japan
out to lynch
recently.
them, but then we'll let them down and I'll have a laugh about it. As long as we stop short of actually killing them, it's no harm done, right?
God.
Well, I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah.
I was going to start making jokes about the earthquake
So
again.
I think that's where
Let's
we
just
can end this.
let's just stop this now before this gets even stupider.
We're wrapping up.
No,
We've wrapped
no,
it.
we're trying to wrap this up.
So you're just going to cut all of this out, and we're just going to
Nope.
say
No.
Nope.
interest in Steam box level on I would say, on a scale of 1 to 10. Dustin?
I think as far as the actual box itself, I'm more interested in the OS. My interest in Steam OS is high. My interest in getting a Steam box is low.
Tymo?
1 to 10, 4.
I would say I'm gonna break it up again and do three things. I'm gonna say Steam OS, maybe like a 5. Steam box, probably like a 1 or 2. I'm not particularly interested in buying more
I'd say
hardware
for
for
me
it.
the OS is like a 7 or 8. I'm really interested in the OS.
Or the controller, probably like a 7 or 8 for me because I really want to give it a try and see if it's any good. Because there are some things that just don't work well on current controllers in terms of genres that you can play on PC that just don't work well on consoles. And I'm interested in seeing that kind of move forward.
Yeah.
No, I'd say breaking it down too as well. Yeah, Steam OS, I would give it a 10. I'm going to download it. I'm going to install it.
Yeah.
Steam box, I'm not going to buy one. I'm going to build one, but that's basically still just going right back to Steam OS. I already have some hardware laying around for that purpose at this point. So, interested in the Steam boxes. Yeah, I guess you could call it like a 3 because, whatever. Steam controller, I'm not going to knock it till I try it, but I'm not that interested in it. Mostly because I already have controllers that I can hook into my computer. I don't need to buy another one. If one of mine dies, well, then I've got another controller that I can kill. And if that one dies, I still have one more after that. So I've got controllers for years. So unless there's something that really...
for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So unless the Steam controller...
Sour about that fuse.
Really...
Dongle fuse.
Oh,
Sour about that dongle fuse.
Colossal middle finger to Microsoft's engineers for having that one fuse that burned out.
Yeah.
And yet it's
and there's
funny.
no way to do anything with it.
That mine works fine still. That's what you get for buying a black one.
What?
No racism there.
We're ending it there. No sign off. That's what you get for buying a black one. That's the last
That's
line.
the end of the video. Fade to black.
Fade to black?
Oh, no, I went there. I went there.
Fade to brown.
Because real is brown?
No.
Brown, that's real.
Because we like to end
let's
with
add
a
some
brown
blue.
note.
Oh, this is
add some
nice.
interest to our fans' days.
Well, this has been
Interesting.
a more racist soapbox than I thought it would be.
Only at the end.
Only a little bit. But I think it was cool.
With apologies for that.
Thank
Maybe
you
from
for
you.
everyone that sat through this
Okay,
whole
I apologize
soapbox,
too.
especially this one. This one was a little rough in particular.
Oh, man.
And I think it turned out much longer than we
A little longer
had
than
gone
we expected,
to.
but it's okay. There's
Whatever.
some that there's some from the beginning that needs to be cut from the numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So for those
And this
of
whole racist
all
section.
of you, all of you who are willing to join us, we thank you. Please check out the other videos on our channel as always, and give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you like our channel, subscribe to our channel. Gabe Newell, J.J. Abrams, please do not enact horrible revenge against us for the things said against you, or
My account name is not
everybody
Scary
else
Uncle
for the,
Devin.
yeah. Anyways, from all of us here at Piggeringate, I am Nasty Man.
Tymo?
Benjamin Arthur.
Scary Uncle Devin.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Press A to Climb Soapbox.